is brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Good morning, and welcome to your most authoritative news analysis program, Current Agenda, where we discuss and dissect issues of importance to the nation, to the economy, to the security of the nation. Today we'll be focusing on three key issues. The first one will be focusing on the Galamsey. Very, very relevant and still relevant. Within the week, we heard that now the military or some forest reserves are going to be declared security zones where military personnel will be asked to station in these reserves. We would be discussing the environmental aspect of it, the human liberty aspect of it, whether this is some form of state of emergency, what has been asked for all this while, if this is what is being asked. Then we will look at the NPP. Within the week, we are being intimidated. Their rights to freedom of speech is being violated. They are being targeted and hounded. And so we'll speak to the executives, to speak to members of the top hierarchy of the party to understand what really is the concern. What is different? What has changed? What is it that is happening now that they are so worried about? Then finally, we would also look at the president's nomination for the Chief Justice vacancy. The president within the week nominated one person, and as is required of the process, this person will be reviewed or would be taken into consideration by a committee and go through the process, and eventually, if approved, would be appointed as the Chief Justice. So these are the three key issues we'll be discussing this morning on Current Agenda, sponsored by Bank of Africa. As we said, Bank of Africa's quick loan is a product that you cannot afford to do without. If you are in dire need of financial support, if your car has broken down, if you need domestic assistance, if the wife is in labor and you need to pay quickly to be able to bring her home, Quick Fix from Bank of Africa is your solution. Visit any of the Bank of Africa branches. You can call them on 0302429333 or speak to Fafa at www.boaghana.com. And remember, terms and conditions apply. We'll be right back after this break.
Current Agenda is brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Season begins, a season of shaping, of polishing, and of becoming. Your chosen will be tested, groomed, shaped, pushed to their limits until only the radiance rise. As the weeks go by, the pressure will rise because every task is crafted to mold raw gems into diamonds. a fairy tale. To wear the crown and win the enviable prizes, one must have grit, grace, and of course, your support through votes. One question lingers. Who will win and reign as the most radiant queen? Miss Malaika Ghana, the Radiant Season, showing this and every Sunday, 8:30 p.m. on GTV.
In Touch is a life-transforming biblical series that touches on in-depth lessons about the life of Jesus Christ, leadership, life's principles. This program is brought to you by Charles Stanley, founder of In Touch Ministries USA. Watch In Touch on GTV this and every Sunday at 8 a.m.
In a world where clean water and effective waste management are crucial, where well-designed roads and drainage systems are vital, and in a nation where innovation and technological progress are advancing, then the question will be, where is Ghana positioned in her urban development? What efforts are stakeholders making to ensure that our urban cities are livable? Join me and the professionals as we delve into the root causes and examine practical solutions, raise awareness, drive change, and strive for a cleaner and safer environment that can impact our daily lives. Watch Public Concern on GTV this and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Public Concern, the urban agenda.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, Mommy.
The second coming. Into all this tension just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Troll from Kaswa dear. Why wouldn't he be late? Or being late, of course.
Everyone to hush, everyone to hush. You go be the luckiest. Go be from your job, be luckiest. From not the job, cause she be luckiest. Me and you go be luckiest. Nobody know why you're luckiest. Everybody go be that luckiest.
That's Kwame!
Senya God the apple boom. If you're poor, what's that? So would the coming of the Son of Man be. Is that his car?
Star 712 hash. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompts and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform.
Current Agenda is brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner.
In every old city or village, you will find a town square, or a courtyard, or a plaza that once served as a gathering space for the citizens of the community and their leaders. Meetings and celebrations were held there, as were trials and elections. And these were spaces that brought people together and held them together as a community. Sadly, time and technology have eroded these spaces. Madam President, in many ways, the United Nations is the proverbial town square of our modern global village. And it has never been more critical for us to protect this one space that brings and holds the world nations together as far as the illusion of connectivity. when in fact what they do is reinforce isolation by using algorithms that ensure that we do not receive new ideas and perspectives, but rather more of the same content. We are served alternative facts and manipulated images, making it easy to disseminate disinformation and sow seeds of division amongst communities. Madam President, these are dangerous times. Our world is currently experiencing a rise in nationalism and economic instability. There's a general breakdown of multilateralism. Various acts of aggression have been committed against the sovereignty of others, and nations are attempting to circumvent the very safeguards that were put in place to prevent large-scale global conflict. These conditions are all too similar to the ones that led to the League of Nations' failure in fulfilling its mandate. The denial of visas to President Abbas and the Palestinian delegation sets a bad precedent and should be deeply worrying to all member nations of the United Nations. Ghana conditions are all too similar in 1988 and supported a two-state solution to the conflict since then. And I say, contrary to the claims of some, a two-state solution would not be a reward for Hamas. It would rather be a reprieve for the hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and people who are facing collective punishment and forced starvation for no reason other than the fact that they are Palestinian. For nearly 2 years and for the fear of reprisals, we here in this General Assembly have been playing hide and seek with language to find the right words to help us avoid or excuse what we all know is taking place in Gaza. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, it swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop. The crimes in Gaza must stop. Madam President, I also want to draw particular attention to the conflict in Sudan, which this body has described as the world's largest humanitarian crisis. 12 million people have had to flee their homes. And when we speak of migration, we refer to the 12 million new Sudanese refugees, whom we as a global community should be willing to assist in much the same way that many member nations readily assisted new refugees coming out of Ukraine. Let's dispense with the euphemisms and dog whistles and speak frankly. It is not a mystery that when leaders of Western nations complain of their migration problems, they are often referring to immigrants. They are often referring to immigrants from the global south. But many of those immigrants are climate refugees. And interestingly, the global north emits 75% more greenhouse gases than the global south. However, the effects of climate change are more...
Well, welcome back to Current Agenda. Right before I came in, you saw our president at the United Nations General Assembly, I think the 80th session. And we've all heard and seen a bit of videos circulating, and I must attest to the fact that those were very powerful and strong speeches being made by our president. Congratulations to him and his team, and I hope and believe that all the things that have been said are things that we would bring back home to inspire us to have the reset that we intend or we expect for the nation to have. Well, in studio with me, I have Justice ABDULAI. He's a lawyer. He is with the UPSK Law School, a law lecturer at the UPSK Law School. Good morning, Justice.
Good morning.
I hope you're good.
God has been good.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. And then next to him, I have my brother Richard SUMAH. He's a lead member of the Movement for Change. You have the certificate to be a party yet? Or you're still in the process?
Still in the pipeline.
In the pipeline?
Yes.
I hope it's not the Ghana pipeline.
No. The pipe is the pipe is not choked.
This pipe will best.
Obviously.
Right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Right. So, Justice, let me start with you. Just general overview of the United Nations General Assembly. Not necessarily only President Mahama's speech. We've heard a few other speeches. We've seen how the Israeli Prime Minister was treated, how people have responded to his speech generally. What's your general feedback of the whole event? Then probably you can zoom in on President Mahama's address.
Thank you. So, if I have to be honest, I have not been an ardent follower of the UN General Assembly for obvious reasons. It comes across as just a talk shop for world leaders to showcase their for some part of the world. It is an opportunity to go and shop without necessarily having to do what is needful. For others, it's just an opportunity to showcase their communication prowess and to tell the world that they also exist. And yet for others, it's an opportunity to announce their presence at the world stage, and nothing useful, really. No discussions at the UN General Assembly has made any positive impact, as far as I'm concerned, in the world stage. At the world stage, or even at the various countries that are affected, who need the world at their to support them one way or the other. Time and again, it has rather been used as a political tool by the US, if you like, to achieve their objective, and not necessarily. A typical example is what we have witnessed with the Palestinian leadership being denied visa entries. In the past, there have been other countries that have been treated in similar ways, and so. For me, until something really striking happens at the UN General Assembly, it's nothing useful for me as far as I'm concerned, based on what happens, because nothing useful really turns out from the resolutions that are passed by and all the other things that occur there. But this year, in fact, I think there was just before Gaddafi died, he tore the entire charter establishing the UN apart for these same sentiments that I'm expressing, because really nothing comes out of it. So during his speeches, if you remember, after delivering arguably one of the most scathing remarks on the UN General Assembly, took out a charter and literally tore it apart and threw it into the dustbin, right in the presence of the entire world, just to show the indignity that he feels the UN General Assembly has been turned into. This was established for a very useful purpose, to help safeguard all of us. Not just to be used as a tool by a particular country or others to achieve a political objective, but as a tool to safeguard, protect all of us from the excesses of others, and indeed within ourselves also, and not just from outside. But over the years, the objective establishing the UN is eroding for obvious reasons, because those with political might and those with economic might use it to their advantage and leave the rest of us to fend for ourselves. And so because of that, I have not really been an ardent follower and all of that. However, this year marked a completely a different departure. It's the same talk shop, but this time, because of the events of the past 5 years, if you like, everybody was watching. Everybody was interested in what was going to happen at the UN. And it's for a genuine reason. And because we want to see the world acting to protect itself from the dangers that surround all of us. And so, and we've seen how Ukraine is faring. We've seen how Palestinian is faring. We've seen how South Sudan is faring. And so, everybody was expectant, naturally. And for the first time, I was also interested in knowing what goes on. I think last year or two, it was on, what's it called? The environmental issues and all of that, the climate issues and all those matters, which really, at the end of the day, still come back to naught, because so long as United States as a country says no, you can say all the things, all the flowery languages you want to use, and they are the biggest contributor to the climate problems. And so if they are not partaking in it, like you are doing much ado about nothing. And so this year, the shift, of course, obviously, because of all these conflicts around the world. And naturally, we expected, the kind of vertebrations that occurred, to come up. And I think that the Ghanaian president was sterling in his outburst and the diplomacy with which he still said what needed to be said. And I think it is not out of nothing that everybody is commending President Mahama for what he did and how he said what he had to say. And for me, I felt so proud as a Ghanaian to have him as my president, based on all the things that he said and how he said it. And so this year is a bit different. And I was also proud this year for seeing how the world reacted to Netanyahu, how the entire, for me, was a strong registration of protest. In fact, it's the highest form of diplomatic embarrassment you could accord any particular country or any particular leader. And I think the world stood well when it came together in that level of resounding and unanimity with which they greeted Netanyahu. I was really touched by that. It's unlike before where you find the world divided on a particular issue. This one, literally the entire world, perhaps except the United States, everyone is in the same, in fact, we are all on the same page on this issue, that we dislike what is happening at this particular space because of the crimes that are being committed and all the other rot, that are going on, continuously going on there. If you go to, I have never seen the same level of reaction, of course, towards Russia. And I do not know why the world is not in the same, on the same page when it comes to Russia as against Ukraine, relative to what Israel is doing to its counterpart, or in fact, I would like to call it neighbor, but truly speaking, Israelites are the guest in that, in that space. And so, if anything, to their landlord, somebody accommodates you for obviously good reasons, and now what is occurring is clearly nothing to write home about. And so I am proud for what President Mahama said. He said literally what needed to be said to the world, and I'm just praying and hoping that it will change the course of history going forward, because we need to have a better world, a safer world. And I loved it when he used Farida, the daughter, as an example of how the world should see the world. To see our security going forward. This is how personalized I would want all of us, indeed, and the world leaders, to look at things from. Because if your own family cannot be saved in the new world, then you have a lot of questions to ask yourself. You need to stamp your feet on the ground. You need to do what is right.
You need to stamp your feet and do what is right. Noted. Richard?
Yeah.
So this is just a quick bite. It's not one of our main topics. So
I won't waste too much time on this UN thing. First of all, I'd like to say good morning to all your cherished viewers, to all the people of Whole Central, to all my senior co-panelists, and to the entire production team of GTV, and as well as Alan Chiramantain and all the entire membership of the Movement for Change. Well, just to continue from where my senior stopped, the UN is a wasteful event. It's a waste of resources. I'm speaking in the African perspective, because what has been our benefit from this UN over the decades of its establishment? Zero. And the UN has become more or less like a talk shop, a rubber stamping institution, and an institution that no matter what they do, they can pass all manner of resolutions, they can sign all manner of treaties, they can do everything, but once the UN decides to veto it vetoes and it throws it to the dustbin. So the fact of the matter is that how much is African contribution to the administrative functions of the United Nations? Zero. We have nothing to offer to the assembly. So we go there and do all the talk shop, and at the end of the day, we don't benefit from it. For instance, the president is talking about restitution, reparation, the slavery that took place in Africa is supposed to be recognized as one of the baddest things or whatever it is that has happened to any human race. I disagree with that, because you see, the whites, when they came here, they didn't come and Rambo style and took your people away. Your chiefs, your family members, all these people heavily participated in the slavery. So why are you asking somebody to pay you? Because at the end of the day, the whites, when they came, they coerced your leaders to believing that they are useless. They have nothing to offer you. So let us take advantage of you and lead you. And your people agreed. You signed this useless bond of 1844. And at the end of the day, it became the tool which they used to ransack all our national resources and took it away. So at the end of the day, they also knew that you have wastage, a lot of human resources that is wasting, and they need it there on their farms. So what did they do? They coerced your people. They hoodwinked them into believing that they were taking them to Europe for a better cause. And your people were selling their own people. Today, I can bet my last penny that the way we are as Ghanaians, with greed, selfishness, hatred for each other, if slavery should return today, family people will still sell their family members. Chief will still sell their people because we have never changed. The same leadership and the same mindset we had back in the 18th century, it is the same mindset we have today. So we are not known for anything good. So to end on that one, I want to let Africans understand that even ECOWAS here, when was the last time they proposed that we should spend one common denomination, one common currency? Were we not in this country when ECOWAS as a bloc proposed that let us have a common currency to spend among ourselves so they can improve our economy? Over 30 years, have we been able to achieve that? African Union, we keep changing the name from all this manner of names and that and that. What have we been able to do as a bloc? The Asian Tiger, they are a bloc. They are thinking about trade and everything among themselves. The European, they are a bloc, doing things among themselves. American, they are bloc, doing things among themselves. Africa, what are we doing among ourselves? We don't trade. We don't do business among ourselves. We don't have a common agreement. There is no consensus. Everything we are doing is about selfish interest and personalization of who. Now we are even advocating that they should give us a slot on the Security Council. Who is going to be giving that slot? Is it South Africa? Is it Nigeria? Is it Ghana? Who? Or we are seeking that slot as a bloc? So obviously, I am totally in disagreement with Africa wasting resources going to say all these nice things in the UN, come back, and it amounts to zero. A lot of issues are confronting us in Ghana. A lot of issues. That's why many leaders didn't even go. China leader wasn't there. He spoke through Zoom. Other leaders didn't go. So at the end of the day, I would love to see that in the future, any of our presidents should also just contribute to the conversation by not going there, paying people's tickets, spending money on hotels, wasting resources, and go and come back with empty hand. And then to conclude, if you look at the Ukraine-Russia scenario, these are clear different issues because they are both armed countries. They are in an armed combat. Ukraine is also fighting. The Russians are also fighting. But in the case of the Palestine and Israel, you realize that one group is almost virtually unarmed, and another group is heavily armed with sophisticated weapons and bombing everybody left, right, front, center for your own lack of integrity because you allow your own territory to be breached. You allow your security to be breached by Hamas. If the security is breached by Hamas, why then would you create the impression that it must be a collective punishment for all? Netanyahu is fighting for a political sustainer. He wants to remain relevant in a political space in Israel. That is why he's waging this ridiculous war against the Palestine. Because look, if we are in a country called Ghana and Togo breach our territory and come and attack some few people around the border and kill about 1,000, and you want to fight those people, you go after them. It requires intelligence. You don't go there as a country trying to make collective punishment on all. Look at the children. People, they have to throw food from the sky. The rice falls into the sand. People have to collect the entire sand with the rice and try to, it is dehumaning. Because at the end of the day, God created man in his own image. The Palestinians were not created out of stone or out of wood. They were all created out of clay. They breathe. So at the end of the day, I disagree with anybody who will be making this baseless argument that Israel is a country of God. That is a fallacy. It is a fallacy because biblically it is stated that as many as believe in the death and resurrection of Christ, they have been given the right to become the sons and daughters of Abraham. And we are all beneficiaries of the Commonwealth of Israel. So at the end of the day, the Israel there is not the one that God placed his hand in. These are Caucasians who have come there and have been given the space and they try to take over everything by the full support of America, and we must stand against it. So we commend our president for at least speaking on that issue and calling Israel out and letting them know that what they are doing is absolutely wrong and we cannot entertain it.
I feel like passing an offer tree bow round for this sermon you have just given, referencing the scripture and all. Well, viewers, we've been joined in studio by my senior INUSAH FUSEINI. He's a former MP for Tamale Central and also a former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and currently, should I say private lawyer? Senior legal practitioner. Okay, private legal practitioner.
Senior citizen.
Senior, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you are doing well.
Well, I'm fine.
Right. I'll come back to you. We are also joined on Zoom by Dr. John OSAE-KWAPONG. He's a Democracy and Development Fellow at the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana. Hello, Doc. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I hope you are doing well.
Yes, I'm doing well.
Okay. So, Doc, I'll be with you in a minute just to take your thought on the General Assembly for the UN. What do you think of it? Just in 3 minutes. But let me start in studio. Senior INUSAH.
Yes, sir.
What's your general impression, just in 3 minutes?
Well, I think that basically it's a yearly ritual that world leaders gather to talk about issues of mutual concern, to bring some issues on the table, draw world's attention to what is happening elsewhere, see whether they can find solutions to those problems, table resolutions and pass resolutions affecting those issues. The whole world body has been structured in such a way that we have permanent members of the Security Council who were victors in the Second World War, very industrialized countries who also turn out to be imperialist, colonize almost the rest of the country, and then the world, colonize the rest of the world. And then those of us who meet at the General Assembly to talk. And so Justice is right when he says it's a talking shop. So we go there to talk. Vent our frustrations, demand some changes, but when we demand, nothing happens. I mean, those at the Security Council don't take our demands seriously, and so. But this year, I could see that there were some running teams that almost all the heads of states who gathered there were united on. Leading the pack of teams was Israel's activities in the Gaza Strip. A few days before the General Assembly, the UN, United Nations Special Report, described what was happening there as genocide. And so you will see that the use of the word genocide was now being used without restraint. Initially, there were restraints, but now, I mean, in the General Assembly meeting, almost every country that wanted to condemn Israel said Israel was perpetuating genocide because a UN report had said that. And then, called for some swift action in ending the war. Some went as far as calling for the arrest of Netanyahu. The UN demonstrated the abhorrence of what was happening in the Gaza Strip by walking out on Netanyahu when he was delivering his speech. Netanyahu himself was belligerent and bellicose when he took the stage, and clearly unrepentant well. So we all saw that. Then the elephant in the room was, how do you design a world institution and exclude 54 countries in Africa from a voice, from participation? How can you say that is democratic? So our president talked about it. That's one of the paragraphs in his seminal speech. Why can't we be represented on the Security Council? And most of the matters that are discussed at the Security Council concern and touch us. Is this a perpetuation of colonialism? Are we not fit to discuss our own matters? Don't they need our own perspectives when the Security Council is meeting? The president talked about it. Kenya was very vociferous. Yeah. Very, very vociferous, I mean, on that. So African countries are demanding a seat on the Security Council. They must have a seat at the table. Now, climate change. So things are changing. The world is not the same. And like Justice said, the president demonstrated the urgency of the matter by using his own daughter what world will this own daughter live in 50 years to come, 20 years to come? So we need action, climate action. And so then the other issue that is a vexed issue is the issue of slavery. How do you dehumanize a whole group of people with a compensation with that? And we know that all the industrialized countries developed through the exploitation of our resources, both natural resources and human resources, and then change us into something else, change our thought pattern. So someone, when Richard was speaking, I said, Richard, you have been acculturated by the Europeans. You know, so they wrote literature for us. They wrote our own history and said we were those who were conspirators. Yes. They wrote the history for us.
We caught our people.
We gave it to them. They wrote it, and now we are now. So we are not thinking like them. We have accepted their narrative, okay? But we are saying that we are not alone. I mean, Germany, when Germans were paid reparation, and Germans paid Israel reparation, and so I mean, even now, look at what happened to the Namibians when Germans were catching them and using them as experiments, a prelude to how they treated the Jews during the Holocaust. And so I mean, a lot of injustice, a lot of harm was done to us. We are the only people who appear to be lost. Ali Muzurik captures that eloquently. Says when you meet a group of Africans, you don't know whether they are Africans, they are Europeans, or they are Asians. Well, we're lost. And if you don't have an identity, you're a lost group of people. And who did that to us? No, we don't have a science. Today, we don't have a science. You mean that we survived this harsh continent without a modicum of understanding of how to regulate our lives, how to pass on knowledge? How can a group of people live through decades of this harsh continent without some understanding of science? But we don't have it now.
Right.
And so we think that what they have done to us, to whom much is given, much is expected. We gave them everything. I mean, Britain doesn't have a gold mine. Well, go to Windsor Palace. go to Buckingham Palace. Go to the Central Bank of England.
They have more gold reserve than Ghana. Right, Doc?
Actually, they are among the first 20 highest reserve, the gold reserves.
Yeah.
And you know where Ghana is? I think 156.
So we have 155 above us. Interesting. Doc, yes, I mean, I heard my president speak. I felt proud. But like Justice said, like Richard said, I could tell that a year or two ago, I heard my former president also go to the same assembly talking about the same thing, that they need to compensate Africans, they need to, for everything, slavery, blah, all these things. I mean, some of the themes of the things that were said have been said 2 years ago. And like Justice and Richard said, nothing has been seen. Is it just a talk shop? Are we going to just continue going to talk? We clap that Africans are good at giving speeches. We are very emotional with our speeches. We are very dramatic. And we come back the year after, we would go and say again. Is that what this is all about?
Good morning to you once again. Good morning to the co-panelist. It's one of those forums where, if for nothing at all, it allows world leaders like our president to draw global attention to critical issues that are facing not just individual countries, but also facing the world at large. Some of these global issues are not, quote unquote, easily resolved overnight. So as you yourself noted, 2-3 years ago, some of these issues will come up. I'm sure in another 2 or 3 years, some of these themes may be highlighted again. It's not, for me, that easy to gain traction on some of these issues that the president raised on the global stage. But I believe it is also very important that even as a yearly ritual, that you continue to draw attention to some of these matters. One of the things that I thought was very important, or at least I liked the president's framing of the issue, was on the issue of migration and highlighting this notion that when you think of migrants and people who leave their countries to seek sojourn in other countries, that these are people who also contribute productively in the new societies in which they find themselves. And he gave the example, of the Ghanaian American judge, on the federal bench in the U.S. And I like that because, at least in the U.S., when we talk about immigration reforms, sometimes, those who are pushing for more hard, radical type of reforms frame their narrative as though when immigrants like myself come to the U.S., we only take from the society, but do not make any, productive contributions to the society. So for me, I appreciated the framing of that narrative and drawing global attention to the fact that, immigrants are just not people harming the societies in which they find themselves in. Yes, it doesn't mean that there aren't instances where people have found themselves in other countries and have run afoul of the law. But in general, I think we are people who make very productive contributions to the new societies in which we find ourselves. So I liked his framing on that. On the reform of the United Nations, again, this is one issue that over the years keeps coming up, particularly in terms of what you do about the Security Council, the permanent members with the absolute veto. I'm just not sure whether the organization itself and the big powers who have the permanent seat on the Security Council have any sort of political appetite to embrace that kind of reform. But again, it is an issue that he highlighted well. The last issue that I would draw attention to is the president also brought up our natural resources and Africa as a continent being able to position itself to enjoy greater benefits from the natural resources that we own. I mean, and on that issue, I don't think you can, in my opinion, you can put the onus on those who bring their foreign direct investment to be able to help us extract these natural resources in key sectors like either mining or the oil industry. There are capacity issues over there, and so sometimes what I think is perhaps they come in with maybe an upper hand in the negotiation process because we are not positioned to make the kinds of heavy upfront investment that is needed in these sectors. And that's why at the end of the day, it appears to be tilted. But I think over time, every so often, we try some policy changes, we make some policy choices to put us in a better position to enjoy maximum benefits. And that is what we have to keep doing, as a continent, as a country, to position ourselves through our policy choices and institutional arrangements around these natural resources to make sure that we continue to maximize benefits from it. But overall, I was impressed with the president's speech. I like the key issues that he drew attention to on a global stage.
Thank you, Doc. Viewers, we've also been joined online by Professor Eric ABAVARE. He's UTAC president for KNUST, the chapter at KNUST. Prof, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, KOJO.
I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. And in studio also, we've been joined by KAMAL-DEEN ABDULAI. He's the Deputy Communications Director for the New Patriotic Party. Kamal, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're good.
I'm terrific. Are you?
Thank you. God is good on my side. Okay. So since we're talking about President Mahama, President Mahama has nominated Justice Paul Baffoe as the Chief Justice, or his nominee for the Chief Justice position. And we've had a lot of discussion, some people saying that this had been destined before, and it's the reason why the Gertrude Torkornoo was being hounded. Some are saying that he's experienced and so he deserves it. He's served longer on the bench, and so this is well deserved. Let me start with you, Justice ABDULAI. What's your general impression when you heard this nomination by the president? What was your general impression?
Well, first off, let me indicate that I was happy for one particular reason, and that is that we go back to the previous times where, in fact, to the tradition of the legal profession, where the senior most at the Supreme Court or at any stage is allowed to be the leader. It is not a written law. It is not even a convention. But by our nature, lawyers, judges operate with seniority. And so you'd find that the moment my honorable came in, I would always have to bow and greet him, because at the bar, seniority is the most respected culture. And this tradition was broken by President Kufuor when, I think Justice Georgina Wood was nominated, when she was not the senior most. In fact, that was the first time in the history of our republic we had this tradition broken. And so I wouldn't want to make this an issue of Torkornoo, which is why I'm focusing on Justice Baffoe. Indeed, he is the most senior at the Supreme Court. And I loved it for that reason. The second reason is that he's also that one judge that has had the benefit of being promoted or appointed by almost all the leaders of this country. And so for those who would want to play the mischief of political colorization, it is defeated to the extent that the man has a history of being brought to the Supreme Court even by President Kufuor. In fact, he was sent to the Court of Appeal by President Kufuor. Yeah. It was only the High Court that Jerry Rawlings took him there, because he started off as a circuit court judge. And at the time he started even a circuit court judge, he was overqualified. In fact, he was almost due for High Court. He was about 10 years at the time that, 10 years at the bar at the time that he started from the circuit court. And so, and he spent about 7 years before President President Rawlings sent him to the High Court. And after 6 years, President Kufuor promoted him. And then 2 years later, President Kufuor promoted him once again, all the way until he became a Supreme Court judge. And as we speak, he remains the most experienced member of the bench. And so if you sidestep this person and choose someone else, I think for me, it would have been a very regrettable decision if that had happened. And so I'm happy for these reasons. First, his experience is cherished. Second, his political colorization can never be pinpointed based on his background, at least based on the presidents that have brought him to where he is. If anything, if anyone wants to play mischief, he's more likely to be an MPP than an NDC. And I'm saying all this because these are some of the comments that are coming up, and we need to point it out, and the world needs to know who the man is. And I think he has been, by far, the most distinguished Supreme Court judge. And if you look at the positions that he has held, even at the background within the judicial service system, most of those positions were not positions that he held either on the basis of any political affiliation. And so I think for us as a country, if you really want to collapse the MPP, NDC narrative constantly, these are the persons that we will need to lead us, so that at every point in time, decisions, particularly decisions from the Supreme Court, would be respected and not be greeted with the usual boo-boo because it's probably coming from an MPP or an NDC, depending on whoever is in power. And we greet it with that level of resentment, and if you like, sometimes with all kinds of mischief and all of that, and the 7 zeros and all those. I think this is the time that we need this kind of leader to lead us forward. And I believe that he comes in there knowing all the, luckily for us, he has seen all the negative narratives that the past 10 years, if you like, the Supreme Court has been meted with by the people of Ghana, whether by political parties or political activists or people with political affiliations or not, really may not be the issue. But he has seen how the Supreme Court has been run down by the people of Ghana because of the nature of the decisions that have come. And so I would expect that he comes in there with these things in mind, with the hope and expectation that he's going to reform this. He doesn't have a lot of time, admittedly. He has barely a year to be in office if he's accepted. I think he retires somewhere, next year ending. And so President Mahama would have yet another opportunity to nominate yet another person to be the Supreme Court. And so it is in view of that that I feel that he has a unique opportunity that within this 1 year that he will be in office, he has to take advantage of it. In fact, I think that if anything, his tenure comes to me as that of President Mahama, who has a unique opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity. Take this 4 years, do whatever you can with this country. We have blessed you with an unprecedented number of members of parliament. Just do whatever you want. This one is a clean slate. Take it and make of it as much as you want. And it's the same opportunity we are giving Justice Baffoe. You have 1 year. Use it productively. Use it for the people of Ghana. Use it for our collective good. So that after the 1 year, when you step out, and mistakenly, you also find yourself before court as a litigant, then you would expect the best from the judiciary and not to go back home and be insulting all of us that we have a bad judiciary when you had an opportunity to make it better. And for me, that call is a call for every leader in Ghana and every leader anywhere in the world, that whenever you have an opportunity to make an impact, use it wisely, because you will never be there forever.
You'll never be there forever. KAMAL-DEEN, so your party was in power. Your party eventually appointed Gertrude as the Chief Justice. Obviously, she was not the most senior. As Justice ABDULAI has mentioned, it seems that it has been reversed to what used to be the norm. Does this, in your opinion, bring back confidence to the judicial system, where now we will not be crying 7-0 unanimous decisions and all those things? Does this restore that seeming hope that was lost?
Well, thank you very much. And let me say good morning to the big men here. And just imagining how a level student of me, like me, is going to speak on legal matters before these legal luminaries.
That's why I called you.
But of course, with the greatest of respect, I will try to do what I can do, and of course, stay put to what I understand the law says and what our environment presents us in terms of the legal architecture. KOJO, sadly, we have succeeded as a people in introducing politics into the judiciary. Sadly, we have. And I'm not going to say it's only the NDC or only the MPP. The duopoly that we have now have actually succeeded in tainting our judiciary. So I'll be surprised if we make the argument or advance the argument today that, look, given what has happened and given the analysis around it, that even if the person is going to be pointed as a partisan person, then that person would likely be placed in the, environs of the MPP. For me, I disagree. You know why? I said we have succeeded in tainting the judiciary because if you look at events that led to his appointment today, in as much as he's risen from, circuit court to the High Court, to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court, and with all this knowledge and experience, that would have served us better. But those of us who indeed uphold a high politics, trust me, we haven't allowed such a man to indeed enjoy the if you like, people who believe that Justice Baffoe, irrespective of his experience, irrespective of who he is, but we still believe that politically, he's not going to side with us. However, a judge is not even supposed to side with anybody, anyway, except the law. And all of us are expected to respect the law since decisions of judges are binding on us. But unfortunately, I'm telling you, the narrative out there that this judge is perceived to be, an ally of this party, and that judge is perceived to be an ally of this party, is what actually is going to play on. Okay? The removal of the immediate past CJ. There are those who have made the argument that, yes, you will say the law is the law. But do we have to? She said it. She has said it, yes. There are those who have made the argument that we've gone through the law. Nothing actually untoward has happened. There are others who will also come and make the argument of Article 296 not used properly in terms of discretion. There are others who will make the argument. Now, where that comes in, morality is actually invited into the argument. And where someone thinks that morality has actually been thrown to the dogs and only what he calls the law is what he used, then of course, there was interest in whatever you were doing. These arguments will all come up. So I think that yes, he has been appointed, and rightly so, per Article 144, he's supposed to be appointed by the president, and he's supposed to be our Chief Justice. I want to wish him well. I only pray and hope that where Justice ABDULAI ended, that look, you have 1 year to prove us wrong. You have 1 year to ensure that that unison that we want to see in the judiciary is indeed seen. Because as we speak today, like it or not, there are just people in the judiciary who think that me, I am MPP, and you are NDC, and you are enjoying because NDC is in power. Whether we like it or not, that's what is happening. So I really think that, frankly speaking, a lot ought to be done. And how are we going to do that? Proper reforms. Cases come before you. And sadly, KOJO, the political cases that go before these justices is less than 1% of what they are doing. We have also allowed as a people to let the political or those perceived political cases outshadow the actual work that they do at the, apex court. Sadly.
That's true.
That's the problem. And we continue with this. I don't know when we're going to end it. So for me, to end on this matter, I want to wish Justice Baffoe well. And also would like to say that, look, it will be in our interest as political activists to control our narrative going forward if we want to see the judiciary cured, because we all perceive it is sick. If our narrative actually goes towards fidelity to the law or of the law, trust me, we as a people will enjoy. But if it continues on this tangent, that we're going to name them unanimous FCs, we're going to give them all sorts of names because I'm in opposition and you are in power, trust me, it will be dangerous. Finally, I will say again that the Bar Association or lawyers of this country who we respect so much, they are men of God. They themselves should cure the division. Who assist the judges have sharply divided themselves. Why am I saying this? In as much as you have the right to associations, in as much as we have the right to groupings, per Article 21 of the Constitution, we should also bear in mind that not everything ought to be divided, especially when we are on evolution to ensure that this country is well grounded. For me, the lawyers also must take a cue from this. If we talk of justices or just the judiciary, we should also talk about them to ensure that without them, we cannot have a better judiciary.
Live on Radio Ghana. You can reach us with your comments, with your questions on WhatsApp number 053 110 1315. I repeat, 053 110 1315, 053 110 1315. Join us on GTV, GBC News, and also live on Radio Ghana. So, Senior, in May 2025, this year, when Justice Paul Baffoe was asked to lead a panel to look into the suit filed against the removal of the then Chief Justice Gertrude. I remember Vincent Kwasefua petitioned for to halt this removal process. And he was represented by the former Attorney General, Godfrey Dami. And Godfrey Dami's main issue or the main contention for the halt was that Paul Baffoe was eventually going to be a beneficiary of the decision to remove the Chief Justice then. Fast forward, September 2025, it seems Paul Baffoe indeed has been a beneficiary of the removal.
However, the court said that did not tie his hands. The fact that you perceive somebody to be a beneficiary of something doesn't tie your hands if the law gives you that right to preside over the case. And so that was really fishing. I mean, it was part of the scheme to see whether or not you could determine, they could by their writ determine who constituted the panel to sit on the matter. But a party to a case has no such right.
But upon hindsight?
There's no hindsight in this matter. There's no hindsight.
We are here today. Today we are seeing.
There's no hindsight. Why is there no hindsight?
Okay.
The Constitution should be our guide. The Constitution says that in the absence of a Chief Justice, the next most senior judge must act as Chief Justice. The Constitution doesn't give anybody any discretion to determine who acts as Chief Justice in the absence of a substantive Chief Justice. So we should be guided by that.
Yes, but this was the case. We're talking about that particular panel. Does the Constitution say that that person who is acting should be the one leading that panel?
So Ajay Chuman hadn't settled that question. Since where the statute gives you the authority to do certain things, nobody's idiosyncrasies can take away that right. It's also settled. It is and I like where Kamal is coming from. Let's all try to protect and the image of the judiciary. Yes, Kamal, even in the United States of America, justices are perceived to be partisan. So when Mariama Ousu was appointed, nominated for appointment to the Supreme Court, and she appeared before the first, I've pointedly asked her whether it was time for us as a country to know the ideological persuasion of judges before they went to the Supreme Court. I pointedly asked her. You know why? The Supreme Court also is a democratic institution. So it must have representation from all sectors to be democratic. Because Carl Llewellyn said the idiosyncrasies of a judge and not the law is actually the law. His appreciation of social justice and how justice must be meted is clearly shaped by his experiences. Now, if you pack a court with similar people with similar backgrounds, they are going to produce similar results. That's why the Supreme Court, there's always a battle as to who gets there. And they are able to predict the outcome of decisions, political decisions at the federal courts. If that were not so,
in reference to the US, not Ghana.
No, in reference to the US,
yes.
If not so, how could a 100-year decision that granted women the right to their bodies be reversed? And it was reversed, and everybody knew that if that particular judge was appointed to the federal court, that decision would be reversed. So that's why, so appointed, so you are right. These are the political cases. All of us have, so they are public interest cases. And that's why political cases attract that attention, because we are invested in the decisions. So we want to know. I think that what has happened, and I clearly support Justice ABDULAI. What has happened is an attempt to bring back the old way of doing things, bring some sanity and discipline into the top level of the judicial system. Why? When Torkornoo was appointed, I supported her. You go back and look at Google. I said I didn't have anything. I appeared before her. I knew how she did her cases. I thought she was very diligent when a lawyer appeared before her. So I had absolutely no qualms.
And senior, respectfully, to add to that, she's arguably one of the best at the bench.
So
but that's the different thing relative to your administrative
So I didn't
issues.
have a problem.
She's very intelligent.
But I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with her. And but you cannot also run away from the fact that it ruffled some feathers on the Supreme Court. Yes, Baffoe and others were there 10 years before she made it to the Supreme Court. And then she was relatively younger. So they were going to be on the Supreme Court without a shot at the topmost position. So definitely it will ruffle feathers. But that is what the Constitution says, Article 1441. The President appoints in consultation with the Council of State and the approval of Parliament. It doesn't say the President appoints the most senior. Okay, I'm just using this particular provision to also point to the fact that the Constitution appears to be giving us a guide that in the absence of that person appointed, the most senior must act. So
that's where the contradiction is. I don't know whether you're realizing that. So when it comes to the acting, it must be the most senior.
Yes.
But when it comes to the substantive, it can be anybody.
So that's why I'm saying it's a guide.
And so
there must be that.
It's a self-contradiction.
Remember when just Torkornoo was traveling, I think in November 2024. It was Baffoe.
He would always be.
No, he won't, because he was senior.
You can't do anything.
You can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. There's no discretion in that matter.
But I think that, senior, if to add, right, it is the top. I think the idea of not tying the hands is because you can appoint somebody from outside.
Yeah. Exactly.
The CJ doesn't need to be a member of the Supreme Court.
That's one.
So this is
that's
exactly
one.
From outside. Anybody can come from outside.
No, that's one.
The academic.
No. He was not the Chief Justice.
He was not Chief Justice, but he was appointed from outside.
Yes, but you see that he acted briefly.
Yes.
Now, so that's one. A Chief Justice need not be on the bench. The Chief Justice can come from outside. Two, the next most senior might have some infirmity of body and mind, but might not be removed from the Supreme Court. And so that person will still be on the bench, but cannot preside. So sick. So what do? Do you say that person becomes Chief Justice, acting Chief Justice, and you have to appoint another acting Chief Justice? So that's why there's an open-endedness in Article 1411 to deal with situations that might arise that will make it impossible for the next most senior to be appointed as Chief Justice. Okay. Depart so widely, and that was the first time under Nana Akufo-Addo that we saw it. Under Akufo that we saw it, that it just went out and appointed. So that created a perception. You see,
but most of the problem started from there. Most of the problem.
I'm not approaching blame, but I'm saying that that's why we should not. We should encourage. And so when even Akufo appointed Tudor Wood, there were many voices. There were attempts to link Tudor Wood to the MPP and particularly to attach here.
But that give birth to killing the cat. Do I look like
someone who kills the cat? I was just going to come to that one. So what did Atamils do when he came? Atamils wanted to restore that order and said, look, so let her stay her tenure of office. We shouldn't do anything to sow seeds of discord in the Supreme Court. And then there was tremendous pressure. But that woman too was very smart. Diplomatic. I remember there was an attempt to force her to sit on an election matter, the time matter, on a Saturday. She diplomatically and tactically made it impossible for that sitting to occur. So you see, so that is the thing. I just pray that having gone through these turbulent times, Justice and my colleague Abdullah has said it, takes the opportunity to restore some level of sanity and discipline, reduce judicial impunity, work to enhance the independence of the judiciary. And all that will go a long way to restore the integrity, reputation, and credibility. Because that is the only institution that we can repose our trust in and say that it will protect us against a callous, vindictive executive. That's the only institution, not even Parliament.
That reminds me of a leader.
Right, so that's the only decision that would save us. Doc, CDD Ghana, how does this strengthen our democracy? I mean, from what we said, returning to choosing person when it comes to justice in the country. How does this? Say again?
Have you actually retained to that? In a process?
No, well, I mean, if the nomination has been made, obviously, I'm not sure our history has any nomination has been in that the person has been turned down. Do we have?
You know,
There is.
even when there was an attempt to remove,
that's what I'm talking about.
Apollo,
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, that's the point.
No,
the attempt was there,
see,
but it failed.
no. You see, oh yeah, of course, the attempt was there. It did fail at the Supreme Court, but it succeeded in Parliament.
In Parliament, yes.
So it did succeed.
Okay.
So
it failed at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, at the Supreme Court, it did fail.
Yeah.
So put it in perspective.
how would you comfortable if you say we have retained when Article 1441 is actually amended? To mean that, but I would okay. But for now, we haven't retained. It's a discretionary matter.
So the discretion has been retained.
Or maybe the convention. The convention, because the convention issue, like, it's closer to convention than. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So CDD Ghana, does this further strengthen our democracy? Does this further bring hope and bring trust to the judiciary as one of the arms of government?
Well, as the other panelists have mentioned, this is something that is edged, written in law. For me, though, beyond just the restoration of the convention,
Hello, Doc, can you hear me? Okay, back to studio. Richard.
Yeah.
So, movement for change. I know your movement was loud with the issues surrounding the then Chief Justice Gertrude. Now we have a new nominee. What's your position on this nomination?
Well, first of all, I will want to follow suit with what the first speakers have said, because obviously there is nothing too new, and we must also understand that we need to insulate Justice Baffoe from any political conversation. Because if not for the fact that NDC has given a hint prior to their coming into government that they weren't satisfied with the judiciary, and for which matter, if they come to power, they were going to do a complete reset and overhaul the judiciary, there wouldn't have been any hula baloo in regards to who has been removed and who is taking over from the person. But because we created some political conversation around this subject matter, that is how come we still having a conversation around the political toning of this same issue that is currently before us. And we, as a movement, we are only interested in the best for the country. Because like I keep saying, Ghana didn't start from the year 2000, it started way back. People have been there, it has gotten to our turn. So what are we going to do right? That if there weren't certain things being done properly then, what can we do now to reverse the situation? So we've gotten to the stage where even Ghanaians today, they've lost a lot of confidence in the judiciary. Because the judiciary, for once, has become a political instrument. And we all have agreed that, yes, as human beings, we have the right to political affiliation. I can be a lawyer, I can be a judge, but the law does not prevent me from being a supporter of any political party. There is nothing written in the Constitution that if I'm a judge, I shouldn't belong to any political party. It is only chiefs that have been barred from actively participating in politics. So that means that the law allows the judiciary, the Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, whoever they are, to actively participate in politics. So now, like my senior Kamal said, we have politicized the judiciary, especially with the duopoly, because everybody has a vested interest in what happens at the judiciary. And as a matter of fact, it is not only political cases that we must be interested in. There are a lot of people today who are languishing in our prisons for 15 years, and they are still on remand. Issues that's supposed to be dealt with within a period of a year or two, they are still on remand. So what are we doing to our own people? So now, a case goes before the judge. A case that ideally you would have expected to run maybe a maximum of a year or two. But this case can travel over 5 years. And cases go, they adjourn the case, and sometimes they are given 6 months, 4 months for them to come back. So sometimes we need to expedite our justice delivery so that people can really have trust and confidence in the judiciary. I said Baffoe should be insulated because he, as a person, never for once raised any objection that he is disgranted by the fact that Justice Torkornoo has been promoted above her. I'm not sure there is any public evidence to suggest that Justice Baffoe has for once demonstrated in anywhere that he is granted that he is not been promoted to that position as the Chief Justice, even though he has served on the Supreme Court bench longer than Madam Justice Torkornoo. So, people will also argue that...
Could there be implied demonstration of that?
Well, maybe. So the reason being is that now a petition went before the president. The president has followed all the due processes. Then there was a time for the previous Chief Justice to be suspended. They gave it to Chief Justice. They gave it to Justice Baffoe, okay? Now...
I think you have to put that in perspective again. Nobody gave it to him. It's the Constitution.
Yeah, the Constitution. The Constitution allows him to, because he's the senior most person on the bench.
Here means the Constitution.
Yeah, the Constitution.
Because they are listeners.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Yeah, act as the Chief Justice. But the Constitution also didn't say, for instance, if I'm a regent, okay, as a regent, you cannot become a substantive chief, because once you serve as a regent, it ends there. They must look for somebody else from the family to become the substantive chief. But in the judiciary, they didn't say that once you serve as an acting person, you cannot become the substantive. So that means that you can be an acting Chief Justice, but you can metamorphose into becoming the substantive Chief Justice. So with all the history and the knowledge surrounding Justice Baffoe, everybody understands that he has an impeccable moral values. He's a man of conviction. He's a man with institutional capacity. He has been there over the years, so he understands the intricacies of what is happening in the judiciary. Therefore, when given the opportunity, he stands the chance of overhauling the judiciary, even though his time may be limited. But they say that even if you have 6 months and you have a foresight and you have a vision as to what you anticipate that you must do, and you didn't have the opportunity, once you get the opportunity, you can do that within a period of 6 months or 1 year. So we all believe that with the fact that Justice Bonny is not somebody who can be politically influenced, because he's a man of conviction. So we all anticipate that once he's a man who cannot be politically influenced, then a lot is expected from him, because they say often that to he who much is given, much is expected. And here we are as a country. I've never gone to any platform who anybody has any question against the personality Justice Baffoe on both sides of the divide. So we at Movement for Change, we welcome the decision by the president. We support it, and we'll give him all the support that he requires to be able to do something that will transform and overhaul the judiciary. But on the last point of it is that, in as much as we believe that the senior most at the bench should be able to take over when there is a succession planning to take over, then again, we are talking about someone with high moral values. Morality is, how do we measure morality? What is the benchmark for measuring morality? What is the benchmark? So somebody can serve 10 years at the Supreme Court and be there for long service, but we cannot justify the moral values of the person. It can only be based on assumptions. So we are looking forward that Justice Baffoe to prove everybody wrong and to be able to demonstrate to us that he has what it takes to overhaul the judiciary. Not only overhaul, but to build back the confidence that is required in our judiciary. Because I always say that they are our neutral arbiters. Should anything happen today, we don't run to Supreme, we don't run to Parliament, we run to the judiciary. So we expect much more higher moral values from the judiciary.
We expect much more
moral values from the judiciary.
Thank you. I understand Doc is back. Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. You may continue from where you fell off.
Yes, so the point I was trying to make is that beyond following the convention, I think the biggest challenge is restoring confidence and trust in Ghana's judiciary. Now, granted, the Chief Justice nominee has only roughly another year and a half, on the bench. But setting the tone and taking the judiciary on a path of restoration will be critical because Ghana's judiciary is enjoying the best of times if you look at some of the ratings from these good governance indices that we work with. If you look at the Mo Ibrahim Index of African Governance, for example, ratings of the judiciary do not give you a lot of, confidence in terms of the if you look public perception as expressed in the Afrobarometer survey, for example, trust is extremely low. The most recent one in 2024, only about % of Ghanaians say they trust law. There's high percent corruption when you ask them how many judges or magistrates do you believe are involved in corruption. There was a question about what do you think influences, the.
Yes, definitely. Prof, are you with us?
So again, if
okay,
you, as I was, oh, sorry about that. So as I was saying, if you look at some of these public perceptions, trust is low. Perceptions of corruption has increased. Most Ghanaians believe that there was a question last year. Most Ghanaians think that the courts rule based on political influence, the influence of government officials, other powerful persons, and not based on the law. So these are the substantive issues confronting Justice Baffoe as, if he's approved, as he takes leadership of not just the Supreme Court, but our whole judicial architecture, and setting the tone and putting it back on a path of restoration, I think would be very, very, very key.
Thank you. Prof, my apologies for keeping you waiting that long. Prof, I mean, Doc just mentioned that the belief is that this would improve the public trust in the judicial system. Recently, we had a lawyer actually tell the whole country that all humans are not equal before the law. Quoting the famous animal farm, 4 legs good.
You mean a judge?
Sorry, a judge, sorry. Quoting the famous animal farm, is it 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, or 2 legs good, 4 legs bad?
It didn't go in that deal. You are now adding it.
Prof, and adding on to what Doc just said, do we really believe that this would restore that trust? I mean, coming from the academia point of view, do you really think this will restore that trust?
Yeah, thank you, Jojo. I think those vested in the law have given us the perspective of the law. And Kamal and I think Musa admittedly stated that almost all the platform that he has been on, nobody seemed to have anything against Justice Baffoe. And certainly so, because like one of the speakers indicated, that he appeared to have come from both sides of the parties. And so for us, we're only looking for someone who will be independent and be his own man. Because the judiciary, as INUSAH said, is the only place we shall run to for protection if there is any problem. So you want someone who have that kind of mindset and deliver on that grounds. So we are happy. I'm in person. I have no qualm that he cannot do it, and everybody seems to have agreed to that. So I agree completely with what Doc said, that he's the man for the moment, and so let's rally support behind him.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Earlier you said that the judge didn't state it categorically the way I did.
Yeah, I mean the fine details you were given, talking about 2 legs good, 4 legs bad, or 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Once the person says George Orwell and says animal farm,
of course.
And says that all persons are equal.
So you are entitled to your fine details. I'm not defending him at all. I'm not defending at all. But you see, let's also be sharp. All of us here seem to eulogize or to agree with the appointment of Justice Baffoe. However, we should also put on record that Justice Torkornoo was not removed from office because of, if you like, her actions and inactions on the bench, as it were. Administrative issues were raised, okay, based on that. A prima facie case was actually a person fidelity to the law. Okay, we will not sit here, or I will not sit here to say she was faulted on those lines, as it were, so that at least all of them, past justices or whoever, have exhibited that, on the bench. And I pray and hope that he continues.
Yes, I think the point is for me. I understand Prof is back. Prof, sorry, we lost you. Hello, Prof.
Yeah, hello. Hello, I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now too. So you can please go on.
Yeah, so what I really want to say, maybe I'm going to jump the gun, is the fact that even whilst in an acting capacity, she was a Chief Justice who have been able to have the balls and the courage to talk about the Galamsey. And like somebody also stated that he stood to benefit if Justice Torkornoo was removed. And so I would have also expected that because he was going to benefit, he would have kept quiet to the obvious, which is the issue of Galamsey. But regardless to that, he still commented on the Galamsey during the GBA meeting. And so it tells you the fortitude of the man that we're going to have. And so from my point of view, I do not, for that singular act, I do not in any way have any issue with him being the Chief Justice. I think he deserves it. And should the Ghanaian and the academic community should rally behind him, in spite of the fact that he had only 1 year. And you can also infer in that direction that because he's left with only 1 year, he will be a person who have, you have nothing to worry. He will be a person I have nothing to worry about because after I'm left with only just a few years to go. And so I am going to go ahead and do the needful and do what is right. And I'm sure he knows what is right, what the judiciary of Ghana now needs. And so I am very, very confident that by his comment on the Galamsey, I give him 100% support. And so that is my verdict on that ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I could not help to notice the Galamsey twist to it. Then we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll definitely talk about the Galamsey, because I see that's where Prof wants to go back. Quick one, Richard wants to ask a question, then we just go for a break.
About the constitution and appointment of the Chief Justice, Honorable Fuseini, please, respectfully, I want to ask. since we are having this issue and it is being said that it's not stated in the constitution, but it's based on convention, that the senior most should rise through the rank and get appointed. Since it is not written in the constitution, what can we propose as a cure to avert this happening in the nearest future? Because I hear MPP say often that should they get the opportunity, whoever is appointed at the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice today, they will do anything humanly possible to replace him.
You saw an official letter from MPP? Please.
No, like most of the people I meet.
Don't do this.
No, I've not seen.
Don't say you hear MPP never. I'm a deputy communication director
for
of MPP.
Yesterday,
I've
your
never cited
communication
like
member.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
So individuals make their comments. And you don't say
so I'm only asking. What can we do? I agree.
That's why it's interesting to always listen to MPP and movement for change. One blood. So you see, that's the whole thing. That's the whole conversation that should be insulated against. I mean, that should enable us to insulate the judiciary against partisan concentration. Because today we are talking, some MPP commentators, and I listened to somebody who said, oh, they've turned the Chief Justice position into the position of a CEO.
Yes. Now it's conterminous.
Yes, okay,
with the term of the president.
So I've heard that. But yes, so Kamal is dead right. MPP never issued a communication. And that's why we political commentators should guard against what we say. John Mahama never said, I'm going to remove Torkornoo. But I'm sure many people said, and they don't represent the party a policy position. But today we are taking it against, so we should be very careful. Constitutions are designed that way. You can forecast everything or anticipate everything that will happen in governance. So the Constitution is designed to leave gray areas to deal with situations when they arise. So that's how constitutions are designed. And every president, including Nanado, they look at those gray areas and see whether they can maneuver. That's how you exercise your executive authority.
Is there a reason why he said including Nanado? Because there have been other presidents. Why single out and say including
Nanado? Because Nanado, even where there was no gray area, he imported gray areas.
Complete mischief.
So let's leave it that way. Because like he has said, what about in future if Justice ABDULAI will track his progress in the legal in jurisprudence and his activities at UPSK, and maybe the university, I know finally he might want to go to University of Ghana and lecture at the Faculty of Law.
Now this is a mischief. Now this one is...
I think he's building a lot of mischief this morning.
Because there's actually one Faculty of Law.
A lot of mischief this morning.
So then we say, okay, Justice ABDULAI, maybe 10, 20 years time, we say, look, Justice, come and be on the Supreme Court. And he comes to the Supreme Court, and then we say, be the Chief Justice. Now, why, I'm using this again to answer to your question, why a regent can become a chief, but a regent at the Supreme Court, a regent cannot become a chief, but a regent on the Supreme Court becomes a chief. Why? Because you must first of all be on the Supreme Court to be eligible to become a Chief Justice.
In other words, you must be a regent.
You must be a regent
before you can become the chief.
I understand. But for a regent, we can take someone who even doesn't hold a chieftaincy position to be a regent. So you don't even, eligibility matters. You don't even qualify to be a chief, but you qualify to be a regent.
Right.
That's the difference.
Thank you. Thank you for the education. This whole law lecture this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll be delving into the Galamsey discussion. Of course, we have lawyer Fuseini here, former lands minister, so he would walk us through it properly. Prof has already given an indication of Galamsey, so we would also delve into it on that side. So we'll be right back after this break.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, mommy.
The second coming. Into all this tension just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Troll from Kaswa. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late, of course.
We go give you the luckiest. Copy from JoJo be luckiest. From that the cause she be luckiest. Me and you go be luckiest. Nobody know why you're luckiest. Everybody go be that luckiest.
That Kwame!
Senya God the apple boom. If you put it away, so would the coming of the son of man be. Is that his car?
Everywhere.
Dial *712#. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompts and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the KHUST platform.
Meet Kwame. He's not just any Kwame. He's Kwame, the TV license legend. Kwame knows that by paying his TV license, he's supporting GBC, our public service broadcaster, and he's making a real difference. Kwame's contribution helps bring our communities closer together. Because of Kwame and others like him, we will all have access to amazing TV programs, educational content, plus broadcasting infrastructures are maintained, and our culture is beautifully promoted. So GBC is asking all to respond to this civic obligation and pay your TV license fee. For individuals, it's 3 CDs per month or 36 CDs per year. If you have multiple sets, meaning 2 or more in your household, it's 60 CDs per year. For commercial institutions, it's your number of TV sets by 36 CDs per year, and you pay the invoiced amount directly to GBC. So let's all take a moment to appreciate Kwame, the TV license legend. Wherever you are, just dial *447*333# and follow the prompt. It's your civic duty, so pay your TV license today. GBC, the authentic and trusted voice of Ghana.
In a world where clean water and effective waste management are crucial, where well-designed roads and drainage systems are vital, and in a nation where innovation and technological progress are advancing, then the question will be, where is Ghana positioned in her urban development? What efforts are stakeholders making to ensure that our urban cities are livable? Join me and the professionals as we delve into the root causes and examine practical solutions, raise awareness, drive change, and strive for a cleaner and safer environment that can impact our daily lives. Watch Public Concern on GTV this and every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Public Concern, the urban agenda.
Another year dawns. Another season begins. A season of shaping, of polishing, and of becoming. Your chosen will be tested, groomed, shaped, pushed to their limits until only the radiance rise. As the weeks go by, the pressure will rise because every task is crafted to mold raw gems into diamonds. This is not a fairy tale. To wear the crown and win the enviable prizes, one must have grit, grace, and of course, your support through votes. One question lingers. Who will win and reign as the most radiant queen? Malaika Ghana, the Radiant Season, showing this and every Sunday, 8:30 p.m. on GTV.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, mommy.
I'm the second coming. Into all this tension, just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Torkornoo from Kaswati. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late, of course.
Everyone to hush, everyone to hush. You could be the luckiest. Copy from Jojo be luckiest. From not the block, she be luckiest. Me and you could be luckiest. Nobody know why you're lucky. Everybody go be that luckiest.
That Kwame!
Send your God the apple boom. If you put it away, so would the coming of the son of man be. Is that his car?
Dial *712#. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompts and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the KHUST platform.
MedShay, natural mosquito repellent, highly recommended by Ministry of Health, CHAS and GES, lab tested by Noguchi Medical, field trialed by Atomic Energy Commission. It has no chemical or side effects and is good for all ages and skin type. MedShay is available nationwide. Contact us on 0244892413. This advert is approved by FDA.
The 9th Ghana Energy Awards. Nominations are officially open now until October 31st. Under the theme, repositioning the energy sector as a pillar of national development. Categories include the Energy Personality of the Year, CEO of the Year, Energy Sector Operational Resilience Award, and many more.
Submit your nominations today. Visit www.GhanaEnergyAwards.com.
Proudly endorsed by the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. Media partners, GTV and Radio Ghana. For sponsorship and inquiries, call
030-394-0300.
Ghana Energy Awards, a legacy of redefining excellence.
Those who are really calling for the government to do more. We understand. This is a hearing, a listening government, and we are going to do more, and we appreciate it. But let me tell you, those who don't even want them to be talking, is those political apparatchiks who have caused the damage that we are trying to solve. They should really give us some break and give us a room. These are the people who have given almost 20-something thousand licenses, unprecedented in the history of this country, to political operatives, open the floodgate of our forests to be destroyed. I told you 44 out of 288 forests is decimated. In this short period of time, let me give you some statistics. And so when those political pundits, and I'm not talking about people who genuinely want the government to do more, we appreciate it, and we are going to work hard to solve this problem. But you know, for the MPP people who just damage this thing and we are trying to clean their act, they should give us a break. Listen, 1,400 arrests made in less than 8 months. Guess what? For almost 3 years, 845 arrests. Let me tell you how many people were prosecuted. 35. I'll give you statistics, okay? 440 excavators seized, Shamfans over 800. Now we've even given some to the Ministry of Agri. We are fighting this illegal money heads on. But you know, we want the people of Ghana to stay with us. And they should take it from us, our heart and our soul and our commitment and what we are doing. And for those who genuinely want us to do more, we are saying that on a daily basis, we are checking our strategy and strengthening it.
Okay.
We've heard them about emergency, and we are moving to declare security zones. And the president is saying that all these are at our disposal. The state of emergency is at our disposal, but we believe that what we've laid down now must work.
You're arguing that what you've done since you've been in power mirrored against what the previous administration did, for which reason a whole number of Ghanaians called for a declaration of a state of emergency, which your party significantly also supported. It's not the same situation that we...
Nobody has said that. In fact, the president did not say that. The president said, we have to move one step at a time.
He said he will consider it as a last resort.
Yes.
Would you say we are the last resort?
We have not gotten to that point. I think our plan is working. And I'm saying to you, I was just on the Ankobra River just last week. 190 kilometers of the Ankobra River. I rode on almost 1/3 of it for 3 hours. And guess what? Left and right, there were people who continued to do Galamsey, pump the water out and pump the poison back into the water. And this
was last week?
Yes, yes, of course, in some of these areas. Listen, this fight has taken over 6 regions with over 4 million people engaged in the act, okay? And I'm being honest with you. I am telling you that this problem is not going to be solved by Amako Fiboa alone. And it's not going to be solved because suddenly we come in and the next morning it's gone. You see that turbidity levels, the depth I've described, it will take time to come back to the 10 blue. It will take consistent effort. It will take the efforts of the community there. You know, when I left, what I did? I went to all the communities, I brought the chiefs, and I asked them, this is your community. This is where Shamfan machines that destroy the water bodies are being manufactured right on the Ankobra.
So don't we need what some call that constitutional mandate that is vested in the president declaring
and the president has the power to deploy, for example, this is his new move. He has the power to deploy the NIMOS working with all the security agencies permanently to some of these river bodies.
Can they freeze the guys in the forest? Because even the military were afraid to go into portions of those forests.
What will change?
And now it is agents who have been trained to be blue water guards who are going to be facing these people who have guns.
I don't think you want to listen to me.
I do.
What I'm saying is that we are now backing this up with permanent armed military. You heard me warning that we are moving another step further. And that step says we are going to declare all the water bodies and our forest security zones. And you stay there and engage in illegal mining activity at your own risk. That is the step.
Welcome back from the break. This is Current Agenda, your most authoritative new analysis and discussion program. Right before I came, you heard the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources speaking on the government's position on Galamsey, what has been done, what is being done, and what is to be done. And so we'll delve into these issues to see how visible, how viable some of these things are. I'll start with Prof via Zoom. Prof, the minister says that all water bodies, all forest reserves, the military are going to take over. This is what we were calling for last week. This is what we were all asking for. Clearly, UTAC should be happy that your cry has received some form of response. No?
Thank you very much, KOJO. You see, it is not just
he declaring the water bodies as security zones. We have always been trying to drum that we must have a strategy. The strategy must aim to achieve certain targets. The strategy from short term, medium term, long term. If you heard him, he said that Galamsey winning is not going to be in the short term, but maybe even after Kofi Boah, if you heard that statement. So it tells you that winning it is not just an event, it is a process. So what is the strategy in achieving those targets? In the short term, what do you want to do? From short to the medium, what do you want to do? And what do you want to achieve? And to the long term, what do you want to achieve? When you have brought out such a strategy and people critique it, we fine-tune it, then it means we're making a headway. But whatever that has been his strategy, that is touting. For us, it is much more like a firefighting approach. And when it is firefighting, it means when you see the fire burning here, you go there, try to quell it. We see the fire at another point, you go there, try to do that. So there is no coherency. There is no plan. If there is, you can see that in his strategy, you would have said that, okay, maybe in the medium term, we will be seeing that the termity level may reach, let's say, 50%. In the long term, we will be approaching, let's say, 70%. And then you get some metrics to measure it. What does he have? No. So it is so sad that, interestingly, so few things, I've always been saying that the government or the state is not willing to solving Galamsey ab initio. The state or Ghana is not willing. If the state Ghana is indeed willing and want to solve Galamsey, this approach is not going to help. What are the variables that are in the fight against Galamsey? What are the key variables? We have 4 variables. The first variable, let me call the excavators. The second variable, let's call it the funds. Third variables, let's call it the chemical that are used. The fourth variables, the chiefs and the people that are in the communities. When you have now identified these variables, then the target is how do you root out each one of them? So in rooting out each one of them, then the strategy that I'm saying, then it means that the strategy is not going to help to be achieving one of these variables. Does he have such a thing? No. And you say he's going to monitor the water body is declared as a zone. Is he going to be omnipresent? And which people are going to do already? We said that the military is overstretched. Our security forces are already overstretched. How many people are you going to get to patrol the entire length of the water bodies? Like we said, he was on it for 3 hours. How many people are you going to get to be doing that? And not only one river, 2, 3, several river bodies. So you can see clearly that this strategy is not going to work. So if you come to, let me say something quickly. I was shocked in the course of my reading to chance on some document. And I said, so we have this document in this country. Do you know that PNDC law 217, PNDC, please, you may write it down somewhere for your crew to verify for me. They call it Mercury law. Mercury law. This is PNDC law 217. And this law prohibits possession of mercury. And he said mercury and etc., meaning that not only mercury, but any chemical that could be used by small-scale miners. Ever since the narrative we started talking, which arrangement has been put in place to say we want to tamp down the use of chemicals? All our borders are porous. So if the borders are manned to ensure no infiltration of chemicals, it means that you have checked that chemical infiltration. You have checked it out. Because if they don't have the chemicals, they cannot do the Galamsey. If you then control the production, maintenance, whatever of some fines, you have completely rooted that one out. It means you have removed another variable. That's the second one. The third one, excavators, if you have indeed banned them, then you have also done with it. So when these variables have been removed, you can say, hey, everybody continue to do your Galamsey. But in doing so, it means you're going to rely on shovels, you're going to rely on pickaxes, you're going to rely on such crude tools that are not going to be viable for you. So the person will go there into the bush with those tools, he cannot make any meaningful gains. So nobody will tell him or her to stop. So you see, this, when you have put a strategy in curbing them, these processes, then you're going to say, in the medium term, this is what I'm going to do. Or in the short term, this is what I'm going to do. None of them is happening. So for us, we still think what the man is doing is not going to help. Again, let me bring the war into the House of Parliament. House of Parliament is also complicit. Because I have not for one heard Parliament speak against Galamsey. No. So if a Parliament House or the Parliament, our August House, is also committed to that cause, I'm sure they themselves would have known what to even do to help fasten the process of removing the LI 2462. They are also complicit. So this problem of the fight against the Galamsey, it's kind of self-inflicted and we don't want to do. I'm sure your panel might have read or seen the report of EPA and Pure Earth report. You have seen it. And now you see how the heavy metals are now affecting our very sustenance, the cassava, the water, the green food, contemporary, and what have you. They have been affected. So you may be sitting down there, you be an MP, you say nothing, you do nothing, you go to eat palava sauce. And remember, these heavy metals are biologically cumulative. So you eat 1 microgram today, tomorrow you eat another microgram, it adds up to become 2 micrograms. And cumulatively, you will be accumulating the heavy metals. So one day you wake up and you go, they say your kidney or your organ or whatever is being affected. You will not remember that it was this inaction or inactive.
Okay,
thought.
Prof.
So,
Prof, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Prof?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you. I'll come back to you with some follow-up questions after I've taken turns with each of the panel members. Lawyer Fuseini, so I listened to the minister speak, and I keep getting worried when I hear ministers of state who are supposed to be ministers for the whole country, not just for NPP or NDC, who have been given the mandate to govern, keep making references and comparison to what a previous administration did, making it seem as if the people do not deserve better. It's only better if it is better than the previous government. And so you heard him talking about this number of people were arrested, this number were prosecuted. So as long as I prosecute more than the previous government, hooray, let's clap for me. Is that the way to go? Can't we move beyond partisanship and be Ghanaians in fighting this Galamsey? And I'm asking this because you've been in this ministry before.
That's not partisanship. That is just to demonstrate to the listening public that something is being done. And to bring it into sharp focus to show how the progress has been done, how the progress has been achieved. Yes, so a previous government also fought Galamsey. And this was what they achieved. So to demonstrate what is being done and the effectiveness of what is being done, you need data to do that. So that's not partisanship. But again, is that good enough? No. So we need to do more. Okay? So that's why I will not fault the minister for demonstrating to us that something is being done. Because without that evidence, you cannot assess what the minister is doing. But let me backtrack small and answer to Professor Eric's reference to PNDC law 217. PNDC law 217 criminalizes the possession of mercury. So, on the face of it. But there's an exception. Section 4 and 5. The exception is that small-scale miners do not need a license to possess small quantities of mercury for their operations. And that's what we are dealing with. So the small quantities of mercury that they possess is what is polluting our water bodies.
If I may read, it says that notwithstanding anything contained in any enactment to the contrary, licensed small-scale gold dealers may possess reasonable quantities of mercury as may be shown to be necessary for the purpose of their mining operations. Unfortunately, it does not define what is reasonable and what is
What I'm
small.
just saying is that so Section 4 accepts the small-scale miners from the rule that you can't possess it. It says that you can, the small-scale miners can. And our concern now is that the small-scale miners are possessing mercury and are polluting our water bodies. That's our concern now. And that, look, we need to do something about the possession of mercury. That is why everybody is urging on the country to sign onto the Minamata Convention or something like some Argentina name that bans the use of mercury in mining. So that is the step we should be calling on government to do. That look, ban it, because there are other effective and efficient methods of winning gold from the small-scale mining sector without the use of mercury. So if we want to get our water, underground water bodies not polluted, our trees and not, sucking up the hard substances and making it possible for us to ingest those hard substances, whether you are in Accra or Tema or Tamale, we must ban it. And then, we must sign on to the Minamata Convention. A small-scale mining, I always say, in those days, Abdullah, that's my father. That's my father's name, Abdullah. Yes. In those days, we had vigilantism. When a town was rife with crime, the group of young men will come together and roam the streets at night and ensure that we are safe. We used to call them volunteers. What has happened to that? Your network just sent me a clip where even soldiers who were deployed, have we lost our values? The responsibility, let me put it this way, the primary responsibility of protecting the environment where you live rests on you.
And viewers, the video is currently being shown.
Because we are the environment. In fact, it is our activities that pollute the environment. So if we don't conduct or engage in those activities, the water bodies will not be polluted. So we are key. That's central. Now, but we also agree that we are a modern state. So we are paying some people to pretend over the environment, the protection of the environment.
Right, sir.
What are they doing? What is the Water Resources Commission doing? Did they see this coming? Did they forewarn us? What is the Environmental Protection Agency doing? Did they see this coming? Did they forewarn us? What is the Forestry Commission doing? Did they see the unbridled assault on the forest reserves? And what did they say? How did they warn us? Because these institutions are created for a purpose. Probably the failure that we are recording has come about as a result of the default of those institutions.
Did they sound the alarm bells? The Minerals Commission, did they sound the alarm bells? That we have now almost been swallowed by Galamsey, and we are going to exorcise the cancer. It's going to be a very difficult fight. Very difficult fight. People have not taken impunity as regular life. The propensity to disobey the law and engage in environmental destruction without recourse to the law has now almost become normalized. That somebody now even wants to protect his right to destroy the environment by attacking the military. It's supposed right. I'm going to put it that way. He thinks that he has a right. Now I hear Chief saying that, oh, the fight against Galamsey is going to be difficult because of youth unemployment. Can we say same of armed robbery?
Thank you. That has been my question.
Can we say same of armed robbery?
Well, illegality and illegality.
Illegality. You see, and when I was in office, a chief came to me. He had sites, and I had received reports that people were on the land, and they were doing Galamsey. I wrote to the Minerals Commission to cancel his concession. They canceled and wrote to me. He came to me to see me. I just asked him a simple question. Chief, if your predecessors had allowed the land to be despoiled the way under your tenure, your land is being ravaged, will you have succeeded, or will you have had any interest in succeeding to
such a land?
Then he was shocked. He couldn't answer me. Because if you are the chief, and you are a chief of the people and the land, and my brother, we know in land law, there is no parcel of land in Ghana here that is not owned by somebody. And chiefs have surface rights. Even before you go and plant your cocoa, you must go and see the chief to give you the land. That is why when finally the state's interest in that cocoa farm, that land that the cocoa is sitting on manifests, the state will have to pay you compensation and pay the stool royalties to be able to get to what they want on the land. So what are we doing? These are chief executives. What are they doing? Highest political authority within the district. Are they saying that they are incapable? That it will take the minister to go and protect the Ankobra? Is that what we are saying? Then we are almost coming to a failed state. If that is what we are saying.
They're there already.
Yes, if that's what you are saying. Why you were just still to become a district chief executive. And then you are made a district chief executive. And you throw your hands in the air and say you can't fight and protect your district against illegal mining. It's worrying. The BNI commander, officer in the district, does he want to tell us Ghanaians that doesn't know the people who are doing the illegal mining? Is that the case? Is that the case? Or the police commander? Are they saying that they don't know the people? And those people are so powerful that they have become impotent, they can't arrest them. Is that what they are telling us? It's really, really concerning. It simply gives me an impression that Ghana, we seem to be saying everybody should be for himself and God for us all. Because this problem has come up, was rife in Brazil. How did they solve it? Even here, little Zimbabwe, you remember the blood diamonds? You remember?
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone,
Yes,
blood
Sierra
diamonds. How were they able to stop it? How were they able to stop it?
That's an interesting question.
So we need, and even the Wild West in the United States of America, the Wild West, how did they stop it? China, which is here, now engage, citizens of China now engaging. Can you dare? China has more gold than Ghana. Can you dare go and cause environmental and go to the gorges and start putting champagne? You will be headed.
Anyway.
You see, so clearly, so when I went to Chichenre, I always had that example. Dunkwa on Ofin, the Ofin River. We saw champagne on the Ofin River. Again, back to the Water Resources Commission. You can't dredge a river unless under certain conditions and with permits.
In fact, even a well.
You can't even sink a well. So, what were the champagnes doing on the water body? I mean, nobody actually cared about those champagnes. In flagrant violation of the law. Something is fundamentally wrong with us. From our chiefs down to the citizens of the communities where man is. Something is definitely wrong. We are not patriotic enough, and it seems that Ghanaians are not angry enough. Shakespeare said it in Macbeth. Good people, we Ghanaian citizens who are not engaged in small-scale mining, illegal small-scale, are more than
those engaged in it.
How come that we have been overtaken by them? We are not angry enough.
That's a multi-billion Ghana cedi question to answer. If those who are not involved are more, how come the very few have been able to dictate the pace and overtake us? Current Agenda is live on GTV, GBC News, and also live on Radio Ghana. WhatsApp lines 053-110-1315, 053-110-1315. We have a few messages, but time is fast spent, so I'll just read probably one or two of them. Martin Jan from Ejiso Domi Abraham says, good morning. In fact, the decision taken by the president to remove the former Chief Justice was highly political. And it's also a bad, indelible mark which Ghanaians will never forget. Let's condemn it because it is a disgrace to our judicial system. Regards to my mother, Antiqua Ejenkwa of Esasi. Okay, so that's a shout out to the mother. Another person is speaking on the earlier. I think this one is to you, Richard. He says that, good morning. If any normal human being looks at the way these Palestinians are being killed, I can't even eat. But the Jews are defending themselves. One of your panelists said the present day Jews are not those God gave the land to. God has never changed. So, Richard, this one is to you. This God has never changed. So, this person, if it's in the church that you are opening, would not say anything.
These are the myopic. Well, let me just.
Please leave don't mind my texts. Okay, they are the ones who make this show. Yes. Honorable INUSAH, this is to you. You said, Honorable, once they are arrested, the politician will call for their release, and that's how come we are not winning this battle. Who says we don't know the solutions? We fear losing elections, and that is the problem.
So that's what I'm saying.
I mean, the MPP, we hear you asking the government to do something. You had 8 years to do everything, and you are expecting to be done in 8 months what you could not.
Sounds like a poetic.
Do not do in 8.
I like the excitement of Justice Abdullahi.
I am excited.
And
I'm excited because I've been asking myself the same question.
You know what? Interestingly, we are saying you should fix it in 8 months because you called for it. The President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is on record to have said that he will use 4 months to end Galamsey.
But he didn't say the first 4 months.
He's on record. It's a video.
But he didn't say the first 4 months.
I am saying,
so it could actually be the last 4 months.
No, you don't. It is not. Well, of course, if you reserve the right to interpret what 4 months means by him, I have the right to also say that he's in 8 months and 4 months is gone.
Okay. Fair enough.
Fair.
I have the right.
Fair.
You understand?
Fair.
If you have the right to interpret what is 4 months, his 4 months has never gotten there. Maybe you want to refer to the soon in the Bible, which is Jesus is coming soon and we are still expecting.
We are waiting.
Now, my point is that why we are calling, to answer your question, we are calling for the certain government. Is I like the approach of Honorable INUSAH. He's mentioned all the institutions. We are clothed with all these powers. So are we pretending to be working? That is the summation of what he said. If you are not pretending, okay, to be working, then obviously everything is at your disposal. And you are supposed to ensure that the result is achieved. What I thought this government would have done is simple. Akufo-Addo tried it and failed when he lifted it. Moratorium on all forms of mining in the tentative. And say that, look, I gave myself 4 months. Engage all large-scale mining, small-scale mining, sit with them. We have a canker. I'm not saying you are doing it, because you are supposed to be guided by regulations and whatever. However, there are some people who are riding on your backs to be doing this. And to cure that, let's all say halt. For the 4 months, let's see how we are sanitizing the system. Get back to it. The licenses that we have revoked, claiming that they even overstepped their boundaries, there will be many of them who might have overstepped their boundaries as well. You will be able to do all these analysis. Those who deserve to be given the license, they are given. Those who are not supposed to be given, they are not more given. Then you fine-tune and prune down the number. Then, of course, you can call for responsible mining instituted. Simple as that.
But let me...
What actually...
Just take it
yes.
on board.
Okay.
We supported Akufo-Addo when he banned small
He did it,
mining,
yes.
Mining in the small-scale sector for 2 years, 2017, 2018. The problem is...
Yes.
Within that period, Ghana exported the highest amount of gold from the small-scale mining sector. How did it come about?
No, you see, well, this is
you say that
completely
you
news
say
to
that
me, though.
you say that
Yeah,
that's it.
It's completely news. This is news to me.
They know the
I have not heard of. I have not heard of this. What
evidence is there? The records are there.
No, INUSAH. Other way, INUSAH.
No problem.
The most important thing is that there was an institution of an order in place.
Okay.
And an activity or activities were supposed to be stopped. The answer to your question, which we all don't know, I am going to maybe hazard a guess to say that could it also be what they had mined and
already
kept? Could it also be that we used to export?
The small scale miners have said that within that time, some were mining undercover.
No, so
that might probably be responsible for the devastation that we are seeing.
So it means that there was a challenge. And if there was a challenge and you are instituting such a moratorium, beware of this challenge.
Yeah, I agree with
you understand? Beware of this challenge.
I agree with you.
Then, of course, you will ensure that this is done. Look, you see, the results we had after that moratorium, all the river bodies that were complaining about became clear.
Okay, so just...
Immediately.
So clarity on what Honorable said.
Yes.
So there was a ban on, there was a moratorium on all forms of small-scale mining, which was for 20 months eventually, and was lifted in December 2018. However, we had nearly 2 million ounces of gold from small-scale mining.
It could be reserves that were exported.
No. To the 1.5 million ounces that existed before.
Even when the mining was happening.
So that's basically that's official reports.
So of course,
that is weird.
That means there was a challenge. But nonetheless,
actually, that goes beyond a challenge. A challenge is a small problem. This one was a bigger problem.
Whatever.
No. Come on. We need to be honest.
So I brought in this because I like your approach, but there was a difficulty in trying
so
to...
if there was, that is why you promised us 4 months and come and cure it. Okay. That is why you told us 1 week, come and cure it. So we have the right to call on you, who told Ghanaians that you have the panacea to this canker. And we voted for you and believed in you. That is why we are calling on them. So those who say that 8 months is not enough, it is more than enough. Why? The Minister of Natural Resources sat on live TV and wailed, crying to tell Ghanaians that this fight is not easy. He's struggling. The next moment he has come to tell us what he has done, what he hasn't done. Except for me to disagree with him here. When he says that they have arrested over 1,000-something people. The past government did not arrest that much. They have been able to prosecute so many people. The past government prosecuted only 35 people. Why? Again on record, the same president of the Republic of Ghana now said that those who were arrested under Galamsey, when he comes, he was going to give them amnesty. John Dramani Mahama.
Has it happened yet?
I am saying, no, I'm telling you what.
Oh, no, I'm only asking.
Would that be, could those things be reasons why he's not fighting Galamsey the way we expected? Because he told us that when I come, my predecessor arrested Galamsey, yes.
So I think my production team will get that video and we get clarity.
Very well.
Okay,
so those things happen.
Please, show the video.
So I am saying that, look, let us stop this politics now today. We've all had our part. That NDC will blame MPP, MPP will blame NDC. Then the miscreants, those who think that, look, unscrupulous ones, who think that we are benefiting, like Honorable INUSAH said, they are just few. But yet, they are taking advantage of us. And we also sit on TV glorifying either NDC or MPP in the name of saying we are fighting Galamsey. I think that, look, it is about time we sat down and saw this as a national canker. And do not speak because somebody is wearing NDC t-shirt. And do not speak because somebody is wearing MPP t-shirt. And I think if we are able to arrive at this critically, then with all the stakeholders on board, trust me, we will be able to nip this in the bud. Otherwise, if we continue on this tangent that I am going to clear political points, because MPP is saying that you are not doing well, I come in, then this person says, look, I'm afraid we can never solve this problem. Finally, to end this, the texter who said that, look, we are afraid of losing votes, is what actually the problem is. Trust me.
So
That's
after all that is said,
that's exactly
the problem is
one thing. Because we suffered it. Prestia Huni Valley, who would have thought the MPP would have lost it? Our traditional seat. But for the fight against illegal mining, Prestia Huni Valley left us. I was.
Come on,
No.
that was not the case.
It was.
Let me tell you, the Prestia Huni Valley illegal small-scale miners voted against MPP because at the time that you posed the ban, there were people who were mining the Prestia Huni Valley.
No, but there was a ban.
It was a protest.
No.
But that's the point he's saying.
That's the point I'm making.
If not for the ban, there would not be protest.
There was a protest because
some were selective. Some were doing it. No, but
so that's the point.
But that was open. But that was.
In other words, others were eating whilst others.
So that's the point he's making. That then
it was still the ban anyway.
It's still a ban, but because of the selective application
of it.
Anyway,
but production team, if you can show the.
No, it's so sad, honestly.
If you can show the video of that Kama referred to when the then candidate.
It was on the. He said that the President Mahama said that.
Galamsey no. Amnesty no more saba.
Can we have the continuation of the video?
That context is really difficult.
Another chance.
Rightly so. What and just to translate. So let's just to translate what the president was saying for those who are probably not appreciate the Akan language. The president says that when they come into power, all those who are arrested for Galamsey, they would grant them amnesty. The reason is that he believes they are remorseful. They have regretted their action. And so they would grant them amnesty to come back.
The minister is telling me today that he has.
So that's basically what.
So what point are you making?
Within the context, because I remember I spoke extensively on this issue at the time.
Okay.
And I can easily relate to what the president said. And this is it. This was a time that two members, not just members, senior members of government at the time, had made comments on the Aisha 1 prosecution. Now, the first one was the senior minister, Osaf Mafo, who had said that at the time, this was the same period that Ghana was taking the loan from China. About $2 billion. And he said that the prosecution of Aisha 1 would
affect that.
Thank you. This was the first thing. Now, who was it? There was a second person who had also said that I don't know whether he was the same
It was the
person.
same person.
Who had said that there was no need prosecuting because it wouldn't bring us anything, any good results.
So does that justify his comments?
Hold on. Come on, you're my brother. You're my brother, hold on.
Yes.
Now, these had been said by senior members of government. In fact, the same period, I think just before that period, the Ghanaian ambassador to South Africa had said something that was even the worst for me. And I always situate these three comments, I put them together. And what did he say? I think he met some Ghanaians for whatever, I don't know the occasion, and told them that he had been sent to South Africa for the benefit of... So every time I commented on these issues, I related all these three comments and put them together. And for me, these were the saddest moments.
Justify the comments of John Mahama?
No. What I am saying is this. Now, based on these three comments, it clearly defeats any purpose, any argument from any person within the MPP government at the time who seeks to condemn President Mahama for any comment that he would have made.
It's a proper case sufficient to get a support or defense.
Come on. Very well. You can give it any name. 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 But this is my point. You do not, when a person is speaking within this same context, and the person says that if he comes,
he will grant them amnesty.
He will grant an amnesty because he feels that the people engaged and who had been arrested had shown that level of remorse needed for them to be released.
In fact, if you go on, you hear him say that he believes that the real perpetrators are not the ones who are
I know
arrested.
of that.
Thank you. So you see, if you don't put these things in context, right, you are likely to condemn the president for saying what was at the time right to be said.
Justice.
No, time sensitive. It is time sensitive.
Justice.
It is time sensitive. Why would, in fact, I asked the question at the time.
I would
why
have
would you
expected you to
prosecute?
toe Honorable INUSAH's line on
Why
this
would you
fight
prosecute
than
the Ghanaian?
than
Come
trying
on.
to look for
Come on.
defense?
No, I'm not defending. You have not believing me.
Let's
If you
go.
observe me, you will know that I have never been a supporter of any person.
Okay.
I have
So
always...
just speak to the viewers.
So my point is this.
Don't allow Kamal.
If you don't take the timing of these comments into consideration, you are likely to condemn an innocent person. This is my whole point.
Right.
This is my whole point on that issue. Now, I don't know whether it's my time to comment on this Galamsey issue. I think that, to be honest with all of us, this is the first time I've heard the most passionate and honest comment on Galamsey. And that came from my senior INUSAH. And I love Kamal for one thing, that today, everything he has said is about nationality. Today, he's not here for MPP or NDC. And I really admire that position because he's a communication officer of the party and he's the deputy communications officer of the party. And so it is relevant when that person is speaking and is making it more nationalistic, more patriotic than speaking on behalf of a political party. And I think that needs to be commended. And it's good that it's on a national TV, I mean GTV, other than any other TV station. And that is very commendable. But the most passionate comment on Galamsey since it started, I think this is the first time I'm hearing that. And that is coming from, of course, it's coincidence that he's also the Honorable Minister, or was the Honorable Minister in charge of that. So he's more passionate about this because I'm sure he has fought it for several times. Now, this is relevant to the extent that I think that so long as we keep playing ostrich with the Galamsey fight and pretending that it is someone else's duty and not us, all of us stand to lose. We all. And I think the fight is more urgent today than it has ever been. And I've always called out the former president for a lot of reasons. Because there at the time, in fact, 2016 all the way to 2020, we had a whole case of that president, Nanado, of losing.
Commended for that.
No. And yes.
Seriously.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Except that became a complete charade. Complete charade.
Oh, really?
It became a complete charade. Because it got to a point, the president, but I asked these questions, and I still ask those same questions today. I asked the questions. First, we lost a lot of, in fact, the machineries that were seized, all of them vanished. We still don't know where the machines went. And I think somebody needs to tell us, the people of Ghana, where the excavators that allegedly vanished, where they went to. And if they have been found, we need to account for it. Second, I've asked myself this issue of mercury. Whenever we arrest these people, the Galamseyers do not go to site without mercury. Nobody has accounted for a single drop of mercury. No one has accounted for one. The third question I've asked, No Galamsey go to site without cash. In fact, the activities runs on cash. The entire 2016 up to date, no Galamsey has been arrested with 1 Ghana cedi, either on himself or in their offices. So where do the monies go?
The gold.
I'm coming. That's why I'm listening to them. I'm listening to the questions.
We only hear of champagne.
Only champagne and excavators. I've asked the next question, and I asked this on TV3. The next question is the gold, the raw goods that they are arrested with. These are people who are not mining for soil; they are mining for gold. No single Galamsey has been arrested with a single ounce of gold. So are we saying to the people of nobody, not a single person has been arrested with any single of these items that I'm questioning?
That's where the pretense is. We're pretending.
Anyway, Justice, you don't need to say more.
And there's the law. The law says that
that's where the pretense is.
When you arrest them and confiscate these things, you must declare. So they have
Why
never
are they
arrested. They have never arrested.
Bridget,
why are they?
Bridget, why are they?
Pretense. Good questions, but
movements were changed. Why are they?
Sincerely, I can't answer to that specifically. I have my own observation as to what is happening in the Galamsey fight. Well, we have all agreed that yes, gold deposits has been in Ghana time immemorial. The goals have always been there, like how Honorable Fuseini said. If the previous people had destroyed it, would we come and meet it? And this Galamsey issue is getting completely out of hand, perhaps over the last 10, 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. Because it has always been with us, but it wasn't a front burner issue. Because then our water bodies weren't that bad. The degradation of the forest weren't that bad. So at least we were managing it. Then it got to a point where we monetize politics. When we monetize politics, the demand on politicians becomes so severe. And then again, they are all looking for the lowest hanging fruit to clinch on. And which one is the lowest hanging fruit if you are looking for a quick source of money? It is obviously mining. Because if you go to the Galamsey side, respectfully, the people in the pit, they are just elements who are being used by a certain group of people who are the financiers. Now, we always talk about this, but we have never been able to go after the key financiers. The video you showed about the youth preventing the military from entering their communities, that tells you that it has become more of a national problem in terms of the fact that the communities themselves, who the water bodies there are being destroyed, they are not seeing it in that light. They themselves are preventing the military from going there because they will tell you that that is their only source of income. And more again, too, they see the politicians living like Arabian kings. They live like there is no tomorrow. Heavily into election campaign, the people realize that, look, you are only taking us for granted. We are only important to you when it's time for what? Election. Therefore, we will also do whatever we think is in our interest to make sure we get the money some. So it is the greed, the selfishness, the desire for money, and the impunity at which we are doing things without severe punishment or people who are involved into the Galamsey is what is festering it the more. For instance, Honorable Fuseini just said that in China, why? Is China not part of the human rights charter and all these things across the globe? Have they not signed these conventions? Is China not a country that is also protecting their human rights? But why would they go the extreme to met out severe punishment to people who are doing things that is detriment to the sustenance of the country? Because they are doing it to serve as a deterrent to others to never ever engage in it. But we live in this country, we do all the talking, we do all the we do all the blame game. We blame all ourselves, but we blame everybody else except ourselves.
Except ourselves.
So at the end of the day, I am not a naysayer, but I can bet my last penny that if this is the approach, because you cannot be doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. If this is the approach that we are going to deploy to fight Galamsey, I can bet my last penny that we can be talking about this in the next 10 years to come. Because what are the benchmarks for measuring the success against the fight against Galamsey? What are the KPIs? What are the KPIs? What key performance indicators are we using to determine who is winning? Is it about the number of people you have arrested? Is it the number of people you have jailed? Is that the key performance indicators we are using to measure the fight against the Galamsey?
That's a very critical point.
What is the benchmark?
Maybe if there's time, I'll come back to Honorable Fuseini on that, and that's what I initially asked. That it seems our benchmark is against the previous government. Who did better? But should we not have better indicators, better key result areas?
The resource, whether or not we have the water bodies cleared for the people of Ghana.
At least that
if there's no clear,
illegal
mining stops. That's it.
Doc,
automatically the two coincide.
Oh well, anyway.
I mean that's yes, it coincides. Doc, I have a few minutes to go. Maybe your just 3 minutes. Your take on this issue.
I mean, there's agreement that it is a problem. There's an agreement that we ought to do something about it, and we ought to do something about it sooner rather than later. In my opinion, sometimes the politics gets in the way. In terms of it be, if you have two political parties, with all due respect, every so often they exploit the issue to create a political liability for those who are in power, and it degenerates into who has polluted more than others, who has failed, to fight, who has done. I mean, if you look at their party manifestos in the lead up to the 2024 election, both parties did put forth some very good proposals on how we can fight this menace. Maybe it's not as simple as I think, but now that the election is over and a particular party has won, but both sides agree that we must do something about it, is there a way of building some political consensus about how we go about really addressing this? Because ultimately, the consequences of Galamsey does not discriminate by political power. By political powers. When the rivers are polluted, when the waters become too muddy, when people start having health defects, when all of those things are coming, they don't come and ask who is MPP or who is NDC and discriminate based on that. But ultimately, we have to get to a place of political consensus where we treat this as a positive sum game, no winners, no losers, that all we are interested in is what is in the best interest of the nation. And hopefully there's a way to get there. Yes, I'm sure in the past some have said, because of Galamsey they may have lost, or because of Galamsey they may have won power. Regardless of all of those, to a new place of a better political consensus that says this thing would harm all of us, regardless of your party colors. And hopefully that would get us to a place where we can really deal with this challenge that continues to worsen.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you for your time, and apologies for keeping you waiting on Zoom. I know it will be lonely because you are not in the studio, but please forgive us, and thank you very much for your time. Prof, also thank you very much for your time. You continue to be my inspiration on the discussions on Galamsey anytime I engage you. Thank you very much, Prof. Back to the studio before we go. I have a few messages. Let me read. So, Honorable Fuseini, there's a message for you. Please tell the former lands minister to inform the president that we Ghanaians are worth more than the 4 million he's talking about. This is from NS Safumens. I'm sure it's when the president, when he met the press, and he said that out of the small-scale mining, they had moved from 4 million, 2 million to 6 million. So some 4 million would have gone into private pockets has come to the gold board. So I'm sure that's what he's referring to.
The earnings from the small-scale mining sector.
Yes. So that's what the person is saying, that we should tell you to tell the president.
But it's putting it as if it's number. It's a number of people. No.
So it's that the people are worth more than the 4 million
dollars.
Yes.
Okay.
So the value of the people. Yes.
Actually.
Yes. Right. Also for Lawyer ABDULAI, one person says that regards to you, the person is your neighbor in Kumasi. So your neighbor in Kumasi, I don't know where in Kumasi. Your neighbors. Your neighbors are watching you. They'll wait for you at when you go to Kumasi, they'll wait for you at your gate. And this one is also saying that, please, good morning. Yes, Galamsey must stop. If not, 10 years from now, we'll be living miserably. Stop Galamsey now. Another, this is quite a lengthy one, but let me read this one first. It says, hello, current agenda. Please, is there any way we can discuss any topic on radio or television without making it political? I need an answer. Well, Erskine, or KOJO, your answer is that yes, it's possible, and I'm praying that we would get to that. I think this morning we've been more nationalistic than partisan. So I agree.
Well, a bit of mischief.
Quite a lengthy one from Ebenezer Opoku. He says that the issue of Galamsey has exposed the greed and disloyalty of politicians to Ghanaian citizens, especially the incumbent government. Before the 2024 elections in Ghana, the NDC were demonstrating against the then NPP government to declare state of emergency as a way of fighting against Galamsey. They showed videos of enormity of the devastation Galamsey has brought upon our land. President Mahama promised Ghanaians that he would declare state of emergency when voted in power. Well, we don't have President Mahama expressly saying this on record. Expressly saying that he would declare state of emergency.
I have all those videos.
Okay.
And that's I'm holding him to it.
Okay. So please make those videos. Until then, GTV is saying that we do not have any evidence that the president said this. But please get to our producer, then we'll say it. Ghanaians voted him to power, and now look at the excuses they keep giving Ghanaians. Sami Jemfi and the other NDC faithful who were making noise that the MPP should declare state of emergency and are silent because they have milk and honey flowing into their mouths, buying gold from illegal miners at their own rates and enriching themselves. Some Ghanaians, including myself, have lost confidence in the NDC government for disappointing Ghanaians on the fight against Galamsey. President Mahama should declare a state of emergency now and stop the hypocrisy and his cunning nature. If he fails to do so and continue to sit and watch a few greedy Ghanaians to destroy our lands and water bodies for the masses to suffer the consequences, the wrath of God will come upon him. Hashtag declare state of emergency now. Galamsey is deadly. Nature is angry. Kamal. Yeah. Why are you people walking on the streets? What's your problem? You say who is abusing you and who is making you not talk?
Well, and a quick one. I think once we don't have much time, I have always said that, look, we are protected by the law. And that is why the founders of this country, and of course, the lawyers and the judges, if you like, those within the legal sector, have said that you must, and in fact the Constitution per Article 19 said it, you must commit a crime to be held a criminal in the tentative or to be presumed a criminal. Okay? So our point is that we should not use the law, okay, to, if you like, hunt people or to abuse people. We saw a classical case in the Abronia matter. To the extent that when Article 17 says we are equal before the law and that there's equality, a judge is telling us that animal farm was heavier than our constitution, for the interpretation I put to it. Anyway.
Okay, you are now joining me.
To that extent, a judge is telling you that, you know, the syndrome in animal farm plays and heavier more than that, and that people are not equal, per their position even. So the fact that my brother is a lawyer and I'm not a lawyer, we are not equal. That is I mean, what I got. And from this, if we should allow this to fester, the danger is that tomorrow someone will sit somewhere
so
and
it
claim he has
be
authority
ending
to
in
do
10
whatever.
seconds.
So in ending on this matter, our march or our being on the streets was for all Ghanaians. The fact that is MPP. Why? There have been cases under Rawlings when the MPP went to court, and constitutionally the Supreme Court pronounced in favor of the MPP. Okay, our lawyers are here, they will tell us that if I'm wrong. So I am saying that irrespective of any government that is in power or party that is in power, the law is the law and we should all abide by it. And whoever is holding that authority must not abuse it.
The law is the law. Yes. I was going to ask Honorable about the Black Maria, but I understand I only have 30 seconds, so I can't do that.
Well, MPP was entitled to Black.
People who have are being investigated for offences do not have have to submit themselves to the law. And actually, the law doesn't say you should keep a person forever. It says 48 hours. But the law says that you must make conditions.
Okay, I'm being taken off. I'm being taken off. So your last one, nobody will hear.
Second.
Let's say it together.
We are saying that there's an idea that says that no matter how strong or wicked a man is, he can never hold his own testicles with a fist hand.
Thank you.
So that is the reason why. That is the reason why we are not winning the war against Galamsey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you. It has been a lovely time this morning with you. Make a time with us next week. Thank you to my panel, those who joined in studio and those who joined online. Enjoy your weekend. Continue having the discussions at home and see you next week Saturday. Thank you.